Today I'm going to review Dead of Night from 1945. But first, please subscribe to my channel because I've got some great stuff lined up, some brilliant horror films.
I'm just about through with that cheap ham anyway. Temper. You'll be sorry for this later, you know.
Dead of Night is a black and white British horror film from 1945, and this was rare because horror productions were banned during Britain during the war. It's also interesting because it's from Ealing Studios, and they were famous for the comedies. It runs 103 minutes. It has 5 directors. It stars Michael Redgrave, Googie Withers, Mervyn Johns, Basil Rafford, Norton Wayne, Sally Ann Hawes, Roland Culver, Frederick Valk. So this was sort of like kind of the first anthology film. Later on in the 60s and the 70s, Amicus made like masterpieces, made some brilliant anthologies, and this kind of set them off. This was kind of like the first one. So what I'll do is I'll go through each story and give you my thoughts of what I think of each story. So the Lincoln story is really interesting. It's one of the better Lincoln stories. It's about this guy who keeps dreaming about these people in the house, and as he's driving past the house he meets them. So he keeps having this recurring dream where he's meeting everyone, and he sort of like knows what's going to happen next because he's had this dream so many times. Hey Phil, why does everyone talk so bloody posh in the 1940s? Hello old chap, do you want a cup of tea? It reminds us of a story from the Hammer House of Horror, Rude Awakening, starring Denholm Elliott. In that story, he has a recurring dream non-stop, so this story's kind of similar. But it also sets the scene. He enters the house and tells them what's happened. Each of the people in the house tells a creepy story as well. And this leads into the first story, The Hearse Driver. It's about this guy who has like a kind of premonition. He looks outside his window because he's had a car accident. He's a racing driver. He looks out his window and he keeps seeing this guy who's got a hearse. He sees him looking out the window and he says there's room enough for one inside. And he keeps thinking about this, and he's going to go on to a bus because he's come out of the hospital. The bus conductor says there's enough room for another one inside. It spooks him out, so he doesn't get on the bus, and then the bus crashes.
Just room for one inside, sir.
It's all about premonition, but it's a little interesting story, and it kind of gets you into the mood of like the film. The second story, A Christmas Party. I class this as the scariest of the 5 stories. It doesn't really get mentioned much, this one. It's always the ventriloquist dummy story that gets mentioned. But I class this as the scariest. It's about this girl who's playing hide and seek, and they call it sardines. She's playing it at this Christmas party inside this house. She meets this boy that tells her that the house is supposed to be haunted, that a little kid got killed.
Go on about your precious ghost.
Well, there was a murder committed here in 1860, I think it was. Come on. The girl who did it must have been crackers, I suppose, really. Strangled him, then half cut his head off.
How revolting.
Starts to hide, and she goes into this room. She does end up meeting this little boy, and it makes the skin creep on your flesh as you watch this story. It's really creepy.
What is it, darling? Come on, now stop crying. Did you get separated from the others? Let's go downstairs where it's light and warm.
The way it's shot, like the shadows and everything, and the matter-of-fact way that it's done, where she meets this boy in this room. She later finds out that he was the little lad who got killed in the house. Really, like a creepy story, that.
That little boy, it was... I'm not frightened. I'm not frightened. Oh, please hold me tight. Oh, hold me tight.
I always find their stories that involve ghosts are more creepier than other types of stories. This is a fine example. The third story is about a mirror. It reminds us a lot of From Beyond the Grave. There's a story in that starring David Warner. That's about a haunted mirror, where he's looking at the mirror and he sees a different type of reflection. The same thing happens in this story. Guy buys a mirror and he looks in it and he sees a different room behind him. Him and his wife are in the story. Eventually she smashes the mirror. This story's the only one of the 5 that I think's a bit weak. Goes on a bit too long. If it had been cut down, it would have been pretty good. Like overstays its welcome, the 3rd story. That bloody mirror story got on me bloody tits. Why didn't his bloody wife not smash the bloody fucking thing sooner? The 4th story is more of a comedy. These 2 guys are playing golf because they're both in love with this girl, the same girl. So they play a golf match to see who wins, and whoever wins will take the girl. Well, one of them cheats.
Yes. Didn't you see my spoon shot? Oh, beautiful shot, wasn't it, Smithers?
Oh, a lovely shot, sir. But nobody's ever reached this green in 2 before. I don't believe it's possible.
So his friend's so upset that he lost his game of golf, he walks into the pond and kills himself. That cheating bugger playing golf. But he comes back as a ghost. There's a lot of slapstick comedy where he's trying to get back to the spirit world by he has to do something with his hands. When he can't remember what to do to get back to the spirit world, so he has to hang around. It's a really funny tale. And Basil Rafford and Norton Wayne, they were a great comic duo. They were in The Lady Vanishes, an Alfred Hitchcock film that's good. And they kind of got famous as a double act. And they were in a lot of films together. Although this story is a bit it's kind of out of place being in a horror film. It does give light relief. It's quite a funny story, actually. I enjoyed it. And the final story, it's the most famous, the ventriloquist dummy story. Michael Redgrave's in it, and he gives a brilliant performance as a ventriloquist.
But you'll tell him the truth. You'll tell him it wasn't my fault.
What sort of dummy do you think I am? You shot him, didn't you?
Yes, but that was in self-defense. He was trying to rob me.
And his dummy Hugo, really creepy looking dummy. It's scarier than Bones. Hey Phil, you didn't use me like bloody Hugo in that bloody story. You're not going to stick thy bloody arm up me bloody ass. There's a lot of tension though, you know that Hugo, his dummy, kind of has a life of its own. And there's moments when the ventriloquist's trying to get off the stage in a deep sweat. But his dummy keeps talking to the audience, trying to get him into trouble and stuff. So a really great story, and it reminds us of the film Magic, starring Anthony Hopkins. Similar story to that. Then it's back to the Lincoln story for the final. And the guy who keeps dreaming of everyone, he ends up murdering someone. Then there's like a dream sequence. That's actually well done, the dream sequence, right at the end of the film. You see characters throughout the story coming back. You see the dummy, you see the girl who saw the ghost, you see everyone. There's scenes where some of them have weird makeup on to look eerie like vampires. So I was really impressed by the ending of the film. Right at the end he wakes up, gets out of bed, gets in his car, drives his car, and it ends where the film starts. So it's like a loop. So overall I thought this film was really good, a proper classic. I rate it highly because it's like the start of the anthology films. I think my favourite of the 5 stories is the second one, the Christmas party story with the ghost, and the last story with the ventriloquist dummy, and also like the Lincoln story. And the worst one has to be the mirror story because it goes on a bit too long. And the film is kind of showing its age, it does creak along. I like old films, it's kind of like a time capsule. I don't really mind stuff that looks dated. So out of 10, I'm going to give this film 9. 9 out of 10. Excellent. If you do think you like it, it's a good film, Phil. It now makes good horror films. Okay, everybody, bye. Like, subscribe and share. See you next time.
Just room for one inside.